Universe. Media. Network. 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 Network.
Welcome to the STLREI Girls Podcast, recorded live at Webster Groves Garden Cafe, 117 East Lockwood Avenue in Webster Groves, Missouri. I'm Sandra Holtmeyer.
And I'm Sherry Zink.
We have a guest co-host today. Sherry's here with us, and we have Linda Borghi with us. So today we're talking to Linda Borghi of Dazzle Home Staging. Linda has been in the real estate industry for 12 years. Is determined, feels like her job is a joyride, and has the goal of being the most sought-after home staging company in St. Louis. So welcome, Linda. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
And yeah, we're excited to have you. So tell us a little bit about your personal life, Linda.
Oh, gosh. Let's see. I work a lot, so I don't have a huge, exciting personal life. I do have two kids. I have a son who's a senior in high school and figuring out what he's going to do with his life next year. And then I have a 20-year-old daughter. So they keep me busy still, even at their age. And other than that, you know, I like I said, I work a lot. I'm kind of into fitness, so I spend time working out and, you know, walking, exercising, and trying to eat healthy. So that's pretty much what I do with my time.
Good. Good to know you then. Thank you.
Linda, how long have you been doing home staging or working in real estate, doing what you do?
12 years. I started the business 12 years ago. I've always kind of had my nose in interior design in some way. Every home I've ever lived in, I've totally torn apart and redesigned. Even if it didn't look like a home that needed it to start with, I found a reason to redo anything.
Made it yours.
And made it mine. Yeah. So kind of, you know, just been at it for a long time. But technically, you know, from a business standpoint, I own the business for 12 years. So doing it for other people.
That's cool. So kind of answered this a little bit, but maybe you can expand upon it. But what appealed to you most about working in this industry?
Gosh, I love real estate, you know, so it was two really sexy topics. It was like interior design with real estate, two things that I really love, and you marry those two things, and it was my dream, you know, my dream idea of something to do for a living, so.
That's awesome.
Stepping back a little bit, since you've been doing this for 12 years, can you tell us a little bit, just so the audience kind of gets to know you a little bit more, what kind of support did you have when you started? Were you solo? Did you have a partner back then? How did you get started?
Yes, so I really started on my own. I was kind of a one-woman show. I would buy furniture on Craigslist and, you know, Target and everywhere I could, you know, find furniture, and I would redo it. I would paint it. I would reupholster.
Oh, wow.
At night. I would schlep furniture. You know, it wasn't unusual for me to have like a rolling cart on one end and trying to get a sofa into a house by myself. So I did all of it. I answered the phone. I did all of my accounting work, all of it. So started out slow. The first year in business, I only staged 2 homes, and then the second year it was 9, and then 27, and you know.
Wow, that's exponential growth.
Yeah, and then this in 2019 we staged just right at 400 vacant homes.
Wow!
So we've grown a lot. So
That's amazing.
I do have support today, unlike in the beginning.
Right.
I look back and I think I could never go through it again. I couldn't do it over again if I knew what was entailed.
Looking back, right. You must have a big warehouse and trucks and.
We do. We have a 10,000 square foot warehouse. We have a couple of box trucks and a van, and we have about 100 homes staged at any given time. So what we have in our warehouse is it's really just a small example of what we have in our inventory.
My jaw's hanging open over here.
That is wild. So
it is. It's a candy store. It's so fun. You know, today we have so much. And I tell our stagers that. I'm like, if you would have been with us in the beginning when we had nothing to work with, like, you know, sometimes they'll complain, we're out of this, or we don't have any console tables. And I'll go, oh my gosh, you guys are spoiled. Like, you've got a candy store to choose from.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So going back to that first year, and, you know, it sounds like you purchased a lot of furniture. Did you purchase and start, you know, rehabbing this furniture before you had even your very first home to stage? And tell us about that first home that you staged.
Yeah, well, the very first home that I staged was kind of really just to get my feet wet and, to get some pictures, because that's really, what you need to be able to sell yourself and your business. So I did it for, very little money. It took me 3 weeks to stage the house, and I pretty much just went out and shopped all day, staged at night, sewed curtains, I sewed pillows, I reupholstered chairs, painted, whatever it took. And I used the budget of what I got paid on that job for the inventory. So I started out with really no money at all and just did it on a shoestring budget. So
that's cool.
It was it forced me to be very creative and crafty and work with very little resources. But
that's so inspiring, though. I think some people are afraid to start because they have nothing, but you're living proof you really can start with nothing and build something.
You really can. It just it takes a lot of creativity and a lot of elbow grease, but it can be done. And and sometimes I think I still need to remind myself of those days. Like sometimes you just need to step back and go, okay, what do we really need? Because you know what you can get by with.
So with that, I have to further ask then, you had to, you painted furniture you were buying off of Craigslist, and you don't have to do that anymore, I'm guessing. But is there anything that you buy that you still do some sort of a sprucing up to because it meets a certain look for you?
Yeah, well, thankfully we don't have to go to those extremes to buy furniture anymore. For the most part, I go to market every year, and so we buy wholesale, and the truck just backs up right to our warehouse, unloads. We have guys that assemble it, and it's a wonderful thing.
That's great. What a transition.
It is. But, that being said, we still like to have a good mix. So it's great to have, brand new furniture, beautiful furniture. But I love mixing the old with the new and those unique pieces of whether it be artwork or an antique typewriter or, just something out of the ordinary that really catches people's attention that's not boring and, kind of stale or, looks like it came all matchy-matchy out of a box.
Right, yeah. Well, I like that. Are there any particular pieces that are your favorites then?
Gosh, we have, some of the pieces that we've had for, 10, 12 years are the tried and true favorites,
Oh, yeah.
And they're the things, they're usually accessories or pieces of art that buyers walk in and they've tried to get us to sell it time and time again, and we don't part with it because we know the attention that it gets when we put it in a house. So there are some pieces like that we just hold on to, and we know they work everywhere, and they're just, they get a lot of attention. So,
Linda, what was your first big success after opening your business?
My first big success, I would say, came kind of surprisingly. So I had staged that first house, and so I have some now before and after pictures, and I now have this, this very kind of primitive website, and I'm advertising in that way, just with a website simply. And I get a call one day from a TV news anchor. And at first I think it's kind of a hoax. I'm not really believing that she's, calling me to ask about me staging her own home. But in the end, I found out it really was, the truth. She wanted us to come out and meet with her and stage her house. So set up an appointment. I met with her husband, and, it's kind of one of those things like fake it till you make it. I have the experience now of staging one house. Very little business experience at all. And
I love
so
this.
I walk in and
great.
I'm telling him, what he needs to do with the house, and he's trying to sell by owner, and I'm trying to convince him that that's not the greatest idea in the world. And he's got this beat-up chair that's the only thing in the house, and that's what he's sitting on when he's showing, people through the house, and I'm telling him, why that's not a good idea. And so we have the meeting, and I left, and I told him, I'll get back to you. Well, his wife calls the news anchor 2 hours later, and she says, my husband was very impressed. I about fell over. I thought, oh my gosh, I really did a good job of, faking it until I make it.
I love that.
But yeah, so I got the job and we did it. And, that really, I think, put me on the radar of a lot of top realtors.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
That
in
is
the area. So
that's
that
a
was
big lucky break.
It was
That's
a lucky
great.
break.
I love
And,
that.
this house had its challenges and it was having trouble selling. And then we staged it. It sold right away. So that was really a big
That's
break.
great. Yeah. Good for you. Well, you obviously did something to catch their eye in the first place, so that's great.
So tell us about one of your favorite types of, let's say, I'm sure you've worked with realtors and real estate investors on some really tough properties. Any of those that really stick out that made it like a favorite kind of win to help them?
Yeah, we stage so many that are kind of all alike, or they're all pretty, they're all brand new. And, sometimes it's the homes that have a little challenge that we actually like. Like at first, those would kind of intimidate us, but now we kind of live for those because it gets our creative wheels turning and it's a challenge. And so, sometimes we even still surprise ourselves to this day, at the transformation, how we can take something that looks a little wonky or it's a little disconnected. It might have 3 different types of flooring and, they didn't have the budget to run it all the way through. So we'll stage it with area rugs and it just looks really cohesive and beautiful. And it's just amazing how much that staging can make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine that makes it the fun part. Like you said, is you can really transform
rewarding.
Something that doesn't just look new.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then when it sells, that's like the price. Of course, you just want it to
Yes.
sell. We can all make a house look beautiful, but at the end of the day, it's got to sell, and it's got to sell at top dollar because that's why we're doing what we do. So
That's right. Can't just be beautiful to us.
Right.
Well, as a real estate agent, I get these houses sometimes. I have one coming up soon. Like it's got an unusual enough floor plan, some people are going to struggle with it, Or if the room is too square. I've had kitchens that are perfectly square and people don't envision, where's my fridge going to go? Like you've got to put things where people can see.
You really do.
Yeah.
You have to paint the picture for them and do the work. You have to take the work out of the equation for them because if they come in and they're questioning, if they have questions on either, how the furniture is going to lay out, what the purpose of a room is, those type of things, those doubts are going to keep them on the fence, and we need to move them off the fence. We need to just convince them that as soon as they walk in, they are just falling more and more in love with this home as they're walking through, and then they just have to have it. They have to write an offer right there, right now. They've got to have that house.
Oh. Yes.
I like that as an agent. I like when that happens.
love that.
I know.
That's
but
awesome.
I've had people turn around and say, I don't think my furniture will fit, and they leave,
Yeah.
So I have tape measure, and that nobody knows how big their furniture is.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You have
And
to have them at
sometimes-
hello.
Exactly.
You had me so on the movie right there. I was just following right along.
Absolutely.
Well, Linda, what previous experience did you bring with you from previous jobs, experiences that have helped you in your current business?
I think it's, I've tried on my own. I was one of the people who would try 3 different wall colors, before I finally decided on which one I'd settle for, or, back when wallpaper was a thing, 20 years ago. Now it's coming back. But, in furniture, buy and, return and try and curtain, all of that. So I've done so much of it with my own homes, and I've lived in, I think I counted the other day, I think I've lived in 9 different homes. And every time that I would sell a home, people would always want to buy the furniture in the house. I'd always get asked that question. And I think after a while, I always say that interior design and staging is really more of an art than a science.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly.
You can go to school, but it's really something it's an artistic characteristic that you have to have. So just, kind of doing that for myself and seeing what worked and what appealed to other people is something that I brought to the table.
So what's been your favorite experience throughout this whole process and industry?
Gosh, I think, working with some realtors that I thought I would never work with. And in the early days, I can remember some of the high producing agents, and they wouldn't give me the time of day. They didn't know who I was not on their radar whatsoever. And those same agents are calling us today and wouldn't work with anyone else other than us. And so it's been very cool to to reach that point. And they refer us to all their clients. They trust us. They know what they're going to get when they work with us. And so that's been really rewarding and really fun.
Very cool.
To me, that's success. You've
Absolutely.
achieved success in your business, and it's sustainable. And now we have a quick word about our sponsor, Longhorn Investments. Longhorn Investments, LLC, is a direct private lender offering short-term acquisition and renovation capital to real estate investors for both residential and commercial assets. Highlights of Longhorn's loan program include up to 75% of ARV, financing up to 100% of costs, closing in 3 to 5 business days, no income requirements, streamlined, simple approval process, and no prepayment penalty. Formed in 2008, Longhorn Investments has funded over 4,000 loans since its inception. Longhorn's complementary business includes a title company and real estate law practice operating out of their corporate office. Longhorn's wealth of experience puts them in the unique position of being able to help investors through all aspects of each transaction. To get started with Longhorn Investments now, call and speak to the super nice guy, Lawrence Hopkins, at 314-749-7616. That's 314-749-7616, or visit Longhorn Investments at longhorninvestments.com. Hard money, lending simplified. And we're back. Linda, was there ever a time when you thought about quitting interior design, home staging, any of that?
Oh my gosh, if I could count how many times. Back in the early days, there were times that I was working literally, 7 days a week until 3 in the morning. And I think, why am I doing this? I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to have a heart attack. This is too stressful. I have to get this house furnished. I've got $200 in the bank right now, and I need a sofa. I need end table. How am I going to pull it all together? And so it was hard. And I think going back to my earlier point, I don't know that I could have done it again. But having made it through now, it's great. I love what I do, and I love being able to help people and see the real benefits of what we can do for listings. So, but it wasn't always easy, and it wasn't always something that I was thrilled about. I was passionate about it, but
right.
I guess that kept you going.
Right, but what doesn't kill you makes you strong, they say.
That's true.
That's right.
That's true.
So is there a particular hurdle, the biggest hurdle that you felt that you had to overcome? I know that first year is tough, but is there anything particular along this path, this journey, that has been a big hurdle that you've had to?
Yeah, I think every stage of growth has its challenges. So initially I was a stager, I was a designer, and that was where my strength lied. But then, I had to step out of that role and become, accountant, business owner, until I was able to find someone to step in and, take that over. And then I was, a manager. So now I'm managing people, and I have, employees, and I have to negotiate with them and, lead them. And there are all kinds of different challenges with that, with when you're managing people. Then there's the whole marketing aspect and sales and all of that, and networking and talking to people and doing things like podcasts and video that I'm not, isn't my strong suit, but I've had to step into that role and grow from that. So I think every stage of the business has been different. It's been challenging, and I've learned to love it in a new way.
So which one of all of those stages would you say is your favorite? Because you've played many roles, all the way up to managing, owning, and...
Yeah, well, if I had my choice, I'd prefer to be in the warehouse, digging down deep into the pillows and pulling artwork and designing. That's really, that's where I'm most comfortable.
Go back to design, right? Okay.
So, and I miss that sometimes, but I can now. I've learned to. It's just as rewarding to see the stagers that I've trained to do what we expect of them, and we have a company aesthetic that they have to kind of model, and so we get realtors that call and they'll say, it's sold on the first day, it looks gorgeous, thank you so much. And now I can sort of take that, satisfaction, even though it wasn't my hand in it, it really was. Yeah. It's just trickled down.
And it is. Yeah. It's that you were able to duplicate that and teach that, and you can see the reward in the people who work for you.
Right.
That's cool.
What was your worst client-related experience, and how did you resolve that? And I like this question. They laugh at me, but I think there's so much learning from that. When you're in the customer service industry, you have a lot of people to please. So do you have a story or something you can share?
Right. Well, I think the business that we're in, it can be very subjective. Obviously, people have a lot of different tastes and opinions, and we've had to learn how to accept that challenge and work through that. And, it's not really any one person's opinion. And, so we've had clients, fortunately, it has been very few situations, but we have had clients call and they'll say, well, when we lived in that house, this is not how we did it. And this is not, what we think looks best here. Or, why did you use a rectangle table in here? We always had a round one, and those sorts of things. And, they're upset, obviously, because it wasn't what they were expecting. And we've had to have these conversations with them saying, it's not really, maybe I would prefer to have, I can agree with them. I like, the idea of what you had there, but for selling, really when you live in a home and when you sell it, it's really two different things. When you prepare it for sale, it becomes a product that's on the market. It's no longer your home. And, part of staging is depersonalizing and helping it to appeal to the masses, really. Mm-hmm. And so it's, we always have to consider the way the room is going to be photographed, the entry point, the first vision that they have of a room. The bed has to face the door and things like that. So, those type of challenges we work through. And I think we've gotten, pretty good at kind of, we prepare people. We explain to them. We show examples on, what to expect. So they really have a pretty good idea of what to expect before. So we don't get those situations where they have one completely different vision and we have another.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So how does your family feel about you being an entrepreneur? You've told us about you have a son who's a senior and a daughter who's older. So tell us, how does your family or other extended family feel about you starting your own business from scratch?
That's interesting. It's an interesting question because, as I mentioned, I have a son who's a senior, and I'm trying to help him realize what he wants to do with the rest of his life, and suggested at one point he might go to business school. Go to get a degree in business. It'll serve you well. And he wants nothing to do with business. His dad owns a business. I own a business. And he's like, oh my gosh, you guys work constantly. I don't want to own my own business. I don't want any part of it. So that's funny.
Yeah. I also have a senior, so I know what they're going through and what you're going through.
It's a big decision to have to decide what you're going to do with the rest of your life.
It look glorious.
Well, I don't know about you guys. I didn't end up where I thought I would, back then.
No,
so
not at all.
It is amazing where you end up going.
It is.
So, Linda, what was the biggest house you've staged, like number of rooms or square footage, and the smallest?
Gosh, we have staged, it's such a wide span. We've staged homes that are, $100,000 homes, little 2-bedroom, 1-bath. And we've staged $6 million homes with 10,000 square feet, estates. So with pool houses and all of the ancillary everything. Yeah. So, but I'll say, as beautiful as those homes are, and of course the expectation is higher because you need higher end everything. But sometimes the smaller homes are my favorite because they get the biggest impact from staging.
Yeah.
They're small, and sometimes when the rooms are left empty, they look smaller, and they can just turn out to be cute little doll houses and transform so easily versus something that's much larger scale.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to someone starting out in your profession, whether it's in your profession or a new business owner, both? You can take that any way you'd like.
Gosh, be patient. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of, both of you can probably relate to as well.
Certainly.
I don't know. She kind of did it overnight. I don't know.
It never feels that way.
Well, 10 months overnight. She's been a rock star. I don't know if you've heard the whole story.
Wow,
No.
you'll need to fill me in on your story.
She's
Good coaching. I've had good coaching.
Coaching helps. Yes, coaching. Get a coach.
Yes.
That's really a great tip,
Right.
honestly, because
It
I know
is.
I
Sorry, I
struggled.
didn't mean to take
myself.
over your question
That's okay.
there.
No, you actually gave me a great topic to talk on. Coaching is a great one. I know for years I struggled doing it on my own, and it seemed like about the 5th or 6th year in, I got hooked up with an association, a home staging and redesign association, and it really taught me how to run it as a business. And, just having a coach to train you on the business aspect is huge, because if you're like me, you're you have a trade or a craft that you're good at and that you enjoy and love, but it doesn't necessarily make you a good business person.
Right.
So I think learning from other people who have that experience, even if it's not in your field, can be really a powerful tool.
Right.
That's interesting to hear. I wouldn't have thought that, in your industry, but we don't know what we don't know. And that's a theme we hear a lot is we've needed coaches. We've had, other people from other industries needing coaches. But you're an interior designer and obviously artistic, but you said you didn't necessarily manage people before. So that's huge. You've got to do all those things as a business owner.
Absolutely.
We
Right.
had an accountant on one episode, and oh boy, that's the one thing I can't do. So,
Right. Reading lots of books and Audible and all those things, turn your car into a university.
Right.
While you're
Yes.
driving, just constantly learning about, if it's something that you're not good at, if it's managing people, if it's, networking, if it's marketing, whatever it is, there are lots of experts out there who have written books and that you can learn enormous amounts
absolutely.
of knowledge you can take away from that. So
car time. That's good.
It is.
You got me hooked on some other
podcasts.
podcasts.
Right.
When you're in the car.
That's what I started doing. You really have to have your mindset to, you have the determination, but you have to have something else that keeps you going. And I started finding podcasts and books and all sorts of things to keep me focused and learning.
We're going to have good days and bad days. I mean, there are some days you're going to want to throw in the towel and you forget why you're even in the business. And, you just throw all caution to the wind. You're like, I'm done. That's it. I can't take another day. And you need some kind of, motivation and incentive. And sometimes just listening to something can be that for you.
Absolutely. So how can our listeners contact you? How can they reach out to you?
Well, we have a website. Our website is www.dazzlehomestaging.com. That's DAZZLEHOMESTAGING.com. And you can also reach us by phone at 314-846-8899. We also have a Facebook page. It's Dazzle Home Staging. We post a lot of our recent staging there, so you can see a lot of our work.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right. Before we go, Linda, we have one final question we ask. It's a St. Louis question. What is the one thing you love most about doing business here in St. Louis?
Gosh, everyone knows someone that it's such a small world. I mean, St. Louis, like everyone, there's a connection. It might be a second connection, third connection, but, St. Louis is a small town.
Absolutely.
It's a small, big town.
You're right. Well, thank you so much. We've really liked getting to know you and meeting you and learning all about your business. It's been great.
We hope you enjoyed being on our show. So
It was a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes.
Great. Well, everyone do us a favor and contact our sponsor, Lawrence Hopkins of Longhorn Investments at 314-749-7616 or visit longhorninvestments.com. To contact me, Sandra Holtmeyer, local real estate investor and realtor, my number is 636-856-3358, and I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram at Sandra Sells STL, and I'm an agent with Worth Clark Realty.
And I'm Sherry Zink, and you can contact me at my email address is Sherry, Cheri, buys houses fast at gmail.com, or you can contact me by phone or text at 636-459-9155, and I wholesale, do rehabs and rentals.
Today's show was engineered, mixed, and produced by the fabulous Antonio Holman, publisher of St. Louis Real Estate Investor Magazine.
And our theme song is Escape by Diviners featuring Rossi.
If you'd like to find more great content like this, visit stlreimag.com. That's stlreimag.com.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you.